Signed the wrong alien contract. Now 3 gorgeous sisters claim him as husband. Ren Mercer squinted at the glowing contract on the translucent tablet, his tired eyes struggling after 18 straight hours of deciphering the strange symbols. As Earth's foremost xenolinguist specializing in emerging galactic languages, he'd taken this freelance job out of desperation after the Universal Translation Bureau cut his funding. "Just sign here," said Vexia, her holographic human projection smiling encouragingly. Her disguise was flawless, olive skin, dark hair cascading over her shoulders, and eyes that seemed to shift between emerald and sapphire depending on the light. "I still don't understand why you need a human translator when your universal standard is nearly perfect," Ren said, hovering his stylus over the final page. "Some concepts don't translate well through algorithms," she replied, watching intently as he signed. "Perfect. The transfer of credits will complete by your morning." Ren sighed with relief. His rent was 3 weeks overdue, and the landlord's patience had expired alongside his savings. "One small formality," Vexia added, pressing her thumb against the tablet. The device pulsed with a blue light that briefly illuminated the dimness of his apartment. "The contract is sealed." It happened so quickly that Ren almost missed it. Her holographic disguise flickered momentarily, revealing a flash of cobalt blue skin underneath. "What was that?" he asked, suddenly alert. Vexia's smile remained perfectly composed. "What was what?" "Your projection. It glitched." She sighed, then tapped a small device on her wrist. The human disguise dissolved like morning mist, revealing her true form. Sapphire blue skin shimmered with subtle bioluminescent patterns. Her features remained humanoid, but with an otherworldly elegance that left Ren speechless. "I suppose there's no point maintaining appearances now that we're bonded," she said casually. "Bonded?" Ren's voice cracked. "What does that mean?" "According to Azurian law, we're married. Well, not just to me, to my sisters as well. It's a package arrangement." Ren's apartment suddenly felt much smaller. This was a translation contract. No, it was a marriage contract. I may have simplified the explanation. She examined her nails nonchalantly. "Don't worry, we've researched humans extensively. You'll adapt." "I'm not adapting to anything. This is absurd." Ren tried to grab the tablet, but Vexia held it out of reach. "The binding is complete. My sisters are eager to meet you." She smiled, revealing teeth that were just a bit too perfect. "Pack lightly. We depart for Azuria tomorrow." "You can't be serious. I'm not leaving Earth." Vexia's expression softened. She approached him slowly, placing a cool blue hand against his cheek. The touch sent an unexpected warmth through him. "Ren Mercer, you are uniquely qualified for this position. Your linguistic abilities, your adaptability, your genetic composition, all perfect. If it helps, the payment was not a lie. You'll have access to wealth beyond your imagination. I'm not for sale," he said, though his resolve wavered as her eyes locked with his. "Consider it an adventure then. Haven't you always wanted to see the stars up close?" Ren stared through the viewport as Vexia's ship approached the swirling azure planet. His protests had fallen on deaf ears, and somehow, 48 hours after signing that fateful contract, he found himself hurtling through space toward his apparent new home. "Atmospheric entry in 3 minutes," announced Vexia, her blue skin reflecting the console lights as her fingers danced across the controls. "You might want to strap in more securely." Ren tightened his harness, still processing the absurdity of his situation. "So, these sisters of yours, they're all expecting a husband they've never met?" Vexia's laugh tinkled like wind chimes. "Oh, we've been studying you for quite some time, Ren Mercer." The ship shuddered as they pierced Azuria's atmosphere, momentarily ending their conversation. When they finally broke through the cloud layer, Ren gasped involuntarily. Below them stretched a landscape of crystalline cities nestled between violet forests and meandering turquoise rivers. "It's beautiful," he admitted reluctantly. Vexia's smile was genuinely warm. "Wait until you see our home."
Their vessel descended toward a gleaming spire that rose above a sprawling estate surrounded by gardens of plants unknown to Earth. As they landed on a circular platform, Ren spotted two figures waiting for them. "Ready to meet your new family?" Vexia asked, extending her hand. Outside, the air carried a sweet, unfamiliar scent. Ren felt lighter, as though the gravity was slightly weaker than Earth's. The two waiting figures approached as the ship's door sealed behind them. "Sisters, I present Ren Mercer of Earth," Vexia announced formally. The taller one stepped forward first. Her skin was a deep purple, complemented by silver markings that swirled across her exposed shoulders. Her expression was analytical, assessing him with intelligent eyes. "I am Naira," she said, her voice precise and measured. "Your genetic compatibility ratings are most impressive." Before Ren could respond to this clinical greeting, the third sister bounded forward. Her emerald green skin seemed to shimmer as she moved, and her smile was mischievous. "Don't mind Naira. She speaks to everyone like they're a lab specimen," she said with a wink. "I'm Lyra, pilot, explorer, and definitely the most fun of this trio." Ren stood awkwardly. "Nice to meet you both, though I feel I should clarify that there's been a misunderstanding about this contract." The three sisters exchanged glances. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion inside," Naira suggested, gesturing toward the towering structure. "The binding ceremony must be completed within the lunar cycle." "Binding ceremony? There's more?" "Of course," Lyra said, linking her arm through his. Her touch sent an unexpected tingle across his skin. "The contract was just preliminary. The actual marriage requires the celestial binding." Inside the residence, Ren was led through chambers of breathtaking architecture, organic curves and crystalline surfaces that seemed to grow from the very structure. They arrived at a circular room with a panoramic view of the surrounding landscape. "This will be your shared quarters," Vexia explained. "Our traditions may seem strange to you, but the triad marriage is sacred among high-ranking Azurian families." "And quite practical," Lyra chimed in with a mischievous grin. "You get 3 wives with diverse talents. I pilot ships through asteroid fields for fun. Naira can recite the genetic sequence of any known species, and Vexia, well, she's the diplomat who can talk anyone into anything." She shot a teasing look at her blue-skinned sister. "Oh, you're overwhelming him, Lyra." Ren sank onto a cushioned surface, his head spinning. "Why me? Out of all the humans in the galaxy, why target a broke translator?" The three sisters looked at each other, and something unspoken passed between them. "Rest now," Vexia said softly. "Tomorrow we'll show you Azuria. Perhaps then you'll begin to understand."
3 local days had passed, and Ren found himself in the vast library of the sisters' estate, surrounded by ancient texts and holographic displays. If he was trapped on this planet, he might as well learn about Azurian law and find his escape clause. "The contractual bindings of intergalactic unions," he muttered, scanning the floating text. "There has to be a loophole somewhere." "You won't find one," came Vexia's voice from behind him. Her blue skin seemed to glow softly in the library's ambient light. "Our legal system has evolved over 12,000 years." Ren turned, frustration evident in his expression. "You tricked me, Vexia. On Earth, that's grounds for annulment." She approached, sitting beside him. Today she wore a flowing silver garment that complemented her azure complexion. "I simplified. There's a difference." "Why not just ask? Why the deception?" Vexia's expression softened. "Would you have said yes if I had appeared in my true form and proposed marriage to 3 aliens you'd never met?" He sighed. "Fair point, but still wrong." A comfortable silence fell between them as Vexia reached over and closed the holographic book. "Come with me," she said. "Let me show you something."
She led him to a garden terrace where exotic flowers bloomed, changing colors with each passing breeze. In the distance, twin moons hung low on the horizon. "Our world is dying, Ren," she said softly. "Not the planet itself, but our people. Each generation fewer children are born. We're becoming stagnant." Ren felt a flicker of empathy despite his resentment. "And humans factor into this how? Your species adapts rapidly. Your genetic diversity is remarkable. A union with humans could revitalize our bloodlines." She touched his hand gently. "My sisters and I are from the house of Lyris, one of the oldest lineages. Our choice of bondmate carries significant weight." Before Ren could respond, the purple-skinned Nira appeared at the garden entrance, her usual stern expression replaced with something approaching excitement. "Ren, might I borrow you? I am having difficulty with a particular Earth language pattern in my research." To his own surprise, Ren agreed. In Nira's laboratory, filled with equipment both recognizable and utterly alien, he found himself helping her translate nuanced human expressions into Azurian concepts. "Fascinating," Nira murmured as they worked side by side. "Your brain processes linguistic patterns in a manner completely different from ours." Her typically cool demeanor had warmed slightly. "You are not what I expected." "Is that a compliment?" Ren asked with a half-smile. "An observation," she replied, but the subtle curve of her lips suggested more. Later that evening, Ren found himself joining Lyra on the roof of the spire. The green-skinned sister lay on her back, staring up at the star-filled sky. "Do you recognize any constellations?" she asked as he sat beside her. "None. Your stars are all strangers to me." Lyra turned to face him, her expression uncharacteristically serious. "Does that frighten you, being so far from home?" "I considered this. Less than it should, perhaps." She smiled, the gesture transforming her face. "You know, it wasn't random chance that brought you to us." "What do you mean?" Lyra sat up, suddenly closer than before. "We monitored 57 potential candidates. You were the only one who spent 3 days trying to decipher the Krellian poetry tablet, a text most scholars dismissed as indecipherable." "How do you know about that?" Ren asked, startled. "We chose you, Ren Mercer," she whispered, her fingers brushing his. "All of us did, unanimously." As the twin moons climbed higher, Ren found himself caught between indignation at being manipulated and a growing fascination with these 3 very different sisters and their dying world. The realization was unsettling. Part of him was beginning to wonder if being chosen wasn't such a terrible fate after all.
The grand hall of the House of Lyris buzzed with activity as Azurian nobles gathered for the pre-binding celebration. Ren stood uncomfortably in ceremonial attire, a form-fitting garment that shifted colors to match his emotions, currently a turbulent mix of blues and purples. "You look lost," said Lyra, appearing at his side. Her green skin was adorned with intricate silver patterns for the occasion. "Don't worry, most of them are just here to gawk at the human." "Comforting," Ren muttered. After 2 weeks on Azuria, he'd settled into an uneasy routine, still searching for a way out while increasingly drawn to the 3 sisters and their world. Lara leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Meet me in the observatory after the 3rd bell. There's something you should know before the binding ceremony." Before he could question her, she was gone, swallowed by the crowd of curious Azurians. Across the room, Vexia was engaged in what appeared to be a tense conversation with a tall, imposing Azurian male whose gray-tinged blue skin suggested advanced age. "That's Counselor Thax," came Nyra's voice as she approached, her purple skin resplendent in formal attire. "He leads the House of Vax and opposes our union with a human." "Political problems?" Ren asked. "More than political," Nyra replied, her usual clinical tone tinged with concern. "The houses have maintained power balances for millennia through strategic marriages. Our choice disrupts those patterns." Later, as the 3rd bell echoed through the spire, Ren slipped away to the observatory. He found Lyra already there,
pacing nervously beneath the domed ceiling that opened to the star-filled sky. "I convinced my sisters we needed to tell you everything," she said without preamble. "The full truth before you make your final decision." "What truth?" Wren asked, suddenly wary. The observatory door slid open as Vexia and Naira entered. The three sisters formed a semicircle before him. Vexia stepped forward, her blue hands clasped together. "Our planet faces more than just a decline in birth rates. The Azurian genome is degrading. Without intervention, our species will be extinct within 5 generations. Our scientists discovered that human DNA contains regenerative properties that could stabilize our genetic structure. But not just any human would do. We needed someone with specific genetic markers and adaptable capabilities. You," Lara added softly. "Your genetic profile is unique, Wren, compatible in ways we've never seen before." Wren felt a cold realization wash over him. "So this isn't about marriage at all. I'm just a DNA donor for your species' survival." "It began that way," Vexia admitted, her eyes downcast. "The contract, the arrangement, it was orchestrated to secure your genetic contribution." "But something unexpected happened," Naira said, her usual composed features showing genuine emotion. "We began to experience feelings. Inconvenient, irrational feelings." Lara stepped closer, placing her emerald hand over his. "We chose you for your genetics, yes, but we've come to want you for yourself." Before Wren could process this confession, an alarm sounded throughout the structure. Naira rushed to a console. "It's House Vax," she reported urgently. "Counselor Thax has formally challenged the legitimacy of our contract. He claims a human cannot legally enter a binding with Azurians." Vexia's face hardened. This was inevitable. If he succeeds, not only will our union be dissolved, but all future human-Azurian alliances could be prohibited. "What happens now?" Wren asked, his anger at their deception momentarily overshadowed by the crisis. "The High Council will review the challenge tomorrow," Naira explained. "If they rule in Thax's favor, you'll be returned to Earth immediately." Lyra's fingers tightened around his. "And our houses will be forced into traditional alliances to maintain the power balance." Wren looked between the three sisters. Vexia's determined blue features, Naira's purple countenance, and Lyra's hopeful green expression. Despite the manipulation, despite the lies, he realized with startling clarity that the thought of leaving them behind filled him with unexpected regret. "Do I have any say in this?" he asked quietly. "The contract gives you one option. Before the binding ceremony, you can invoke the clause of rejection. The contract would be nullified, and you would be returned to Earth with compensation." Wren looked at each sister in turn. "And if I don't reject the contract?" "Then we stand together," Vexi answered, "and fight for our union."
The High Council chamber was an impressive space carved from living crystal, with 7 elevated seats arranged in a semicircle. Wren stood beside the 3 sisters, acutely aware of the hundreds of Azurian eyes fixed upon him. Counselor Thax, his gray-blue skin stretched tight over aristocratic features, addressed the assembly with practiced authority. "The Azurian binding laws are explicit," he proclaimed. "Only beings of compatible life essence may enter the sacred triad. Humans lack the necessary spiritual residence." He gestured dismissively toward Wren. "This arrangement is nothing more than a scientific experiment disguised as a binding." Murmurs rippled through the gathered crowd. Vexia stepped forward, her blue skin radiant under the chamber's lights. "Counselor Thax's concern is not for our laws, but for his power. House Vax has sought alliance with House Lyris for generations. Our choice threatens that ambition." The head counselor, an ancient Azurian with silver-white skin, raised her hand for silence. "The human has not yet undergone the binding ceremony. Does he wish to invoke rejection?" All eyes turned to Wren. This was his moment, his escape clause, his ticket home to Earth and his old life of struggling translations and overdue rent. He thought of his first days on Azuria, of his anger and confusion.
Then he remembered Vexia's passionate explanation of her people's history, Nyra's quiet excitement as they decoded ancient texts together, and Lyra's laughter as she taught him to pilot a skimmer over the crystal seas. "Before I answer," Ren said, his voice echoing in the chamber, "I have a question for Counselor Thax." The gray-blue Azurian inclined his head warily. "You claim humans lack compatible life essence. Have you ever attempted to measure this essence in humans?" "The incompatibility is self-evident," Thax replied dismissively. "Is it?" Ren turned to Nyra. "The research we completed yesterday, may I present it?" Nyra stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. Complex patterns of light formed a comparative analysis of Azurian and human neural patterns. "What we discovered," Nyra explained, her purple skin glowing with conviction, "is that human empathic responses create energy signatures remarkably similar to Azurian life essence, different in origin but compatible in resonance." Lyra moved to stand beside Ren, her green hand finding his. "Our traditions speak of essence compatibility, not identical composition. The ancient texts never specified same species bindings." Murmurs grew among the council members. Thax's face darkened. "This proves nothing," he hissed. "A human cannot understand our ways, our history, our spirit." "Then perhaps I should recite the Oath of Ancestors," Ren said calmly, before proceeding to speak in perfect ancient Azurian, the ceremonial language that few modern Azurians still mastered. His weeks in the library had not been wasted. The chamber fell silent. Even Thax appeared momentarily speechless. The head counselor leaned forward. "The question remains, Ren Mercer of Earth. Do you invoke rejection?" Ren looked at the three sisters beside him, Vexia's hopeful blue features, Nyra's anxious purple face, and Lyra's encouraging green smile. In their eyes, he saw not just the future of their species, but something more personal, more profound. "I do not reject the contract," he stated firmly. "I choose to bind with the House of Lyris, not because I was chosen for my genetics, but because I choose them in return." Relief visibly washed over the sisters. The head counselor nodded slowly. "The council recognizes this union. The challenge is dismissed." Thax's protests were lost in the approving sounds from the assembly. As they exited the chamber, Vexia pulled Ren aside into a quiet alcove. "You could have gone home," she said softly, her blue fingers tracing his cheek. "Why stay?" Ren smiled. "Maybe I've found something worth staying for. 3 things, actually." Nyra joined them, her purple features softened with rare emotion. "Our deception was unforgivable, yet you forgave." "Not yet," he corrected her, "but I'm willing to work on it. We have time." Lyra bounded into the alcove, her green skin practically glowing with excitement. "The binding ceremony is approved. We have 3 days to prepare." Ren laughed, a genuine sound that echoed through the crystal corridor. "So, I'm really doing this, becoming husband to 3 alien sisters." "Having second thoughts?" Vexia asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Ren pulled her close, surprising her with an embrace that quickly included Nyra and Lyra as well. "No," he said, looking at each of his soon-to-be wives. "For the first time since signing that contract, I'm having no thoughts at all." 3 days later, beneath the light of twin moons, Ren Mercer of Earth stood within the sacred binding circle. As the ceremonial lights enveloped him and his 3 brides, blue, purple, and green hands joined with his, he realized that sometimes the wrong signature could lead to exactly the right destination. The binding was complete. His new life had just begun.